British cons proliferate much. New data accessed at a touch. And deadline coverage goes double Dutch. I'm David Hood, and this is Deadline, DBN's monthly news program. Dateline May 2025. For our feature story, the World Diplomacy Database, or WDD, served as an important hobby resource for decades, serving as the repository for tournament results from events going way back in time. Player data was also available in face-to-face or online play. So it was easy to size up your opponents. But the functionality of the site was not ideal. So enter the new World Diplomacy Reference, or WDR, now up and running, which vastly improves the data availability and accessibility, as well as enabling more ranking of player results internationally. Later in this program, we'll talk to two of the primary architects of this new hobby project about their labor of love and how it will benefit the overall diplomacy hobby. But first, a look at headlines from around the world of diplomacy. The third game day for the Virtual Diplomacy League took place on May 17th, with 3 rounds scheduled as usual for convenience of players around the world. Those May VDL games were quite entertaining, as always, with some large results for Austria being the possible highlight. Australian Jason Gray was leading going into those May game days, so who's leading now? I'm not going to tell you. Find out by watching the full coverage of these games as provided right here on DBN as part of the May edition of our League Night show. Also covered on that episode of League Night were games from the Australia-based Snake Pit Virtual League. After 4 rounds of play in the pit, Liam Healy holds a nice lead in the standings over second placer Jamal Blackharley, with Jason Gray only a few points behind in third. Other Virtual League options out there include the 7 Years' War and the Tour of Britain, with the schedule for all upcoming virtual face-to-face rounds easily accessed through our DBN website. We've linked that schedule page below. Looking for some face-to-face tournament action this summer? The Netherlands Diplomacy Championship already happened earlier in May. You'll hear all about that later in this Deadline episode. And by the time you see this broadcast, the 39th annual DixieCon in North Carolina will already have occurred. But other summer opportunities are literally right around the corner, or winter if you're talking in Australian time. Now, I will hold off talking about British events until a little later in this segment. So the first stop is the Sydney Cup, the weekend of June 21st and 22nd, a 3-round event run by Jason Gray and Darcy Morris. And then the next weekend, the dipping moves to a new event at Regenscon, June 28th, 29th in Regensburg, Germany, featuring 3 rounds run by DBN personality Robert Schuppe. 2 weeks later, all eyes will then be on the French Diplomacy Championship, held July 12th through 14th in conjunction with the 14th running of the Anjou Fire Tournament in France. 2 weekends after that, we'll see a couple of different events, the Regatta Tournament at the University of Colorado in Boulder, and the Norwegian Diplomacy Championship in Oslo. August rounds out the season of fun, with the Boston Massacre, the 8th through 10th, and then the Cane Toad Classic in Brisbane, Queensland on August 30th and 31st. Links to all of these events can also be found by navigating the DBN schedule page I mentioned earlier, and I've got that link provided below. The main event finals for the Olympus Extended Deadline Press Tournament is currently being played with a cast of characters including Leonardo playing Germany, Greg Matthews in France, Jordan Connors as Italy, the Austria of Marcus Edholm, Timothy Zhu in Russia, and Turkey by the player known as Cora. As this report is being written, the game has finished spring 1904 with a very strong EG alliance dominating the board, Austria and France both being on the ropes at this point. As always, full blow-by-blow coverage of this main event final is being provided by the Diplomats YouTube channel. Analysts Ed Sullivan, Keith Worstel, and Darcy Morris take a deep dive of every move, grading the players at the end of every game year, and also making predictions about how the game will unfold. If you have not already been following the game coverage, well, you should. And for less experienced viewers, it would be a great introduction about how to play a top board type game. For you experienced players out there, this provides moves and insights transferable to the next high-stakes diplomacy game you play. So use the link below to catch up and to keep up. From our friends in the United Kingdom comes the latest blog post to update us about goings-on in the resurgent British hobby. Leading the May 6th post is the welcome news that diplomacy is returning to what were once the two support beams for the British face-to-face diplomacy hobby. MidCon, which this year is June 21st and 22nd in Kenilworth, and then ManorCon in Birmingham on July 19th and 20th. These two venues have hosted many a national and international level tournament in the past, so this resurrection is truly exciting. The blog post also describes upcoming club games in London, the UK National Championship returning to Warrington in September, and the upcoming rounds of the virtual league known as the Tour of Britain. You can access this latest British hobby news using the link below. Each month here on Deadline, we like to highlight the latest and greatest video, audio, or visual content from those whom we call our DBN media partners. The DiploStretch YouTube channel recently released a video focused on prolific variant designer Keith Worstel's 1862 variant. This map is a global map, allowing commentators Ezio and Captain Meme to travel all around the map, zooming in to discuss specific moves in each of the many theaters of conflict on the 1862 map board. At a little less than 3 hours, this is actually a fairly short video by DiploStrat standards, so use the link in the show notes below to check it out. Also, the weekly diplomacy newsletter called The Briefing featured a wonderful article by Chicago hobbyist Brian Pravel about his experience in bar game play with the Windy City Weasels and how that experience has shaped his life outside the game. This, along with the usual hobby news features in the briefing, make it mandatory to use the link below to read that edition of the newsletter, and also, by the way, you should subscribe to it. Longtime viewers of this show will remember the one beat we cover is the use of diplomacy in academia, whether that be in teaching or in research in areas such as international relations, history, or machine learning. In the February 24th edition of the online political science and politics publication from Cambridge University Press, author Petra Hendrickson described her use of a mobile app version of the game Risk to help model the neo-realism of modern foreign relations. In the article, she contrasted her use of Risk with the other main board game used in such settings, which of course is diplomacy. One key distinction noted was the balance of power aspect of diplomacy and the fact that its game length necessitated adapting the play to multiple sessions, unlike when using Risk. The entire text of her article can be accessed using the link below. And now, time for a segment of our show we call Where to Play, in which we focus on one particular method or venue for diplomacy play and why you should try it. This month, we talked to Dutch hobbyist Jelte Kuiper about several answers to the question of where to play, at least when that question is being asked in Europe. Hello, Jelte, and welcome back to Deadline.
Hi, David. Thanks again for having me.
Sure. It's been a little while since you were on the show, so how about telling our audience a little bit about where you are and what you do when you're not organizing diplomacy games?
Well, I'm been doing good. When I'm not organizing diplomacy games, I am a student of sociology and Middle Eastern studies, which I should be graduating for in a couple of months, which I'm looking forward to. I host some other board games, but none as structured as diplomacy. And I do like meeting with diplomacy players outside games too.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, are you in school in the Netherlands or somewhere else?
Yes, in the Netherlands.
Okay, great. Well, tell us how you got into the game originally.
So I watched a negative review of the board game on the YouTube channel Dice Tower, which reviews board games. As I told you, I didn't like it, but this sounds like something for me. So I started an Excellent Deadline Press game. I think during that game I saw, there's EDC in the Netherlands this year. So I went, and it didn't go too well since I hadn't really played, and being 13-year-old at EDC was a bit rough. But then a couple years later, I managed to get some of our friends into the game, and then I got one of them to come to Switzerland with me, Massacre. I'm sure you all know Massacre, she's lovely.
Oh, yes.
And then we had a lovely time in Switzerland. Christophus was organized a Hatters and it was absolutely amazing. And I kept playing.
What about diplomacy keeps you coming back? I like to ask people that. What for diplomacy? What is it that gets you really going?
The people in the game. If it was just a game, if it would be anonymous, I wouldn't be playing anymore. It is the people, it's a community. It's, the fact that diplomacy players in Europe games have, of course, 19.7. So these are people that voluntarily spend 4 hours regularly to talk to people and be kind to people, because if you're not kind to people, you're not going to succeed in diplomacy.
It's true.
That sets up for some wonderful people, and I really like hanging out with most of them.
Well, and so do the rest of us. You're right. That is exactly what keeps most people coming back. All right. So you've just finished running this year's Netherlands Diplomacy Championship. Tell me how it went.
Yeah, it went pretty well. There were no major issues other than some software issues, which Natalia Francesco Conta helped me resolve. So that went well too. I believe the vast majority of players had a very good time. We ran 3 boards per round, which was possible due to the Nave Van Dooyen sitting out 1 round and then multi-boarding 2 rounds, which was, having players that can do things like that as an organizer is really amazing. So yeah, I'm very happy with how the event went.
I would argue that having players who can sit in or not sit in as you need them is critical to running a diplomacy tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you can be lucky and have like exactly 14, 21, 28 players, but most of the time you're not lucky.
No. And for my tournament, the fact that I have 8 or 10 or 12 people that are hanging around playing other games, but I can make them play diplomacy if I need to, is critical to making the numbers turn out right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, obviously Wes Ketchum won. By the time people are seeing this, they'll know that. What, from your point of view, could you tell what the key to his victory was?
I think, as one might expect in diplomacy, the key to his victory was his diplomacy. So he played 3 very nice games from a diplomatic perspective. The first game he got 2 allies, Thijs and Limi, and he managed to completely win the trust of both of them. And eventually, despite Zimi in France having a better position, he got Lily, who he lands him a center. And that was enough for him to tie first place. So in his second round, he managed to play a Juggernaut with Joni Zuidinga, who they changed Ankara and Romania in 91, which managed to disguise their alliance a little bit. And he managed to just, run a very solid alliance, and he just made him a very fun person to work with, which made Joni reluctant to stab him, which won him the game. And then the second round, he did the last round, he did a very similar plan with Joni, where they swapped Liverpool and Brest instead.
I saw that in
France. Yeah, very cool plan, which gave them some neat tactical advantage against Germany. And also he managed to get David Wigglesworth in Italy on side. And then he was looking at a shared second place. But in the last year, Zimi in Turkey made an accidental misorder, which led to him sharing first place with Zimi instead for the second time in a row, which was enough for him to win the tournament. So he did really well, and all his games he got, two allies, one ally, two allies who really wanted him to win these games. And it's better to win games by people giving you their centers or allowing you to take centers than by having to take them better. So I think that's really showed up this too.
Yeah, one can win games by force, but if you can do it by diplomacy, wow, isn't that much easier?
Yeah, and West did that, and that's very impressive.
Yeah. All right. Other than Wes winning the tournament, any other results or events from the NDC that you would like to share with us?
Oh yeah, I do have to shout out second place and best Dutch player Maaike Blom. She played a really good tournament. She came quite close to winning the tournament. She managed to win 2 of her games. And she's also always a lovely person to be around. And third place was Simi Wesentrup, a favorite German player of mine who won 2 of his games, shared both up with West both times, and is showing that he really is a testament to how strong young players are and what type of influence they can have on the hobby. We had so many lovely players. I do wish to give a special shout out to David Wigglesworth from the UK, who is just such a lovely, vibrant personality. I'm sure his presence at the event made it better for everyone, but there were so many wonderful players. I do also, as a final shout out, have to mention Flores the Voice, who was playing just one game this tournament, was his first ever tournament, but he won the game, got
Right.
best result of the tournament, won Best Austria with it, and also won the Best Rookie award for it. So that was really, really impressive on his side, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he will do in Leiden in November.
Yes, all of those people were fun. Their games were fun to watch on the DBN coverage. I really enjoyed watching Simon in particular play a couple of his positions. Just a very creative guy, and obviously has a lot of diplomacy future in front of him. For those who may be out there thinking, well, I'd sort of like to host a face-to-face event sometime. Any words of advice for people like that?
I mean, just start out by hosting a few casual games, see if you like it. On the logistical side of things, make sure you have a timer. And make sure you set a timer that a year is going to take like at most 40 minutes, preferably or less. We have it at 32 minutes a year. You can make it like 34, 36, that's fine, but you want to keep the game going. Otherwise, you're going to like have an hour per year or worse, and that's just not something you can afford. Then always look at what your priorities are. I believe the priorities for any event should be the well-being of players and the community of players. There are some wonderful documents, both published and in draft, mainly from people from the Asia Pacific Diplomacy Association, like Jamal Black-Hali is very involved there. And I think having this realization of what's important at an event and having some practice with hosting game before is really all you need. And if you manage to find some other local organizers who can help you with setting up an event, that is really important. For my first tournament last year, I got a lot of advice from past Dutch organizers and some Australian organizers especially, and they just really helped me present a good event. So wherever you're organizing, if you can reach out to some local organizers for help, or even reach out to me, I can bring you in contact with them. I can advise you myself. That's really what you need to get a good tournament game.
That's all good advice. And, as far as the European face-to-face circuit is concerned, it's really on the upswing, isn't it? I mean, there were some times there for a few years where there weren't that many events being held, and it's really switched around, hasn't it?
Absolutely. There are 2 tournaments in the UK this year, 2 in Germany, 2 in the Netherlands, 2 in France. And then there's also 1 tournament each in Norway, Switzerland. And there are talks of maybe doing something in Greece. Which is, really shows how well the European hobby is doing. And that's wonderful. There have been a lot of players which have come in new since COVID, especially after the Valve video earlier last year, but community staking, according to a lot of new players online. So yeah, the European scene is really blooming.
Well, I think that at least one of the reasons might be that you've got the 7 Years War Virtual League going on in Europe that certainly engages not just European players, but is focused, on time zones that are very comfortable for European players. Tell us about the 7 Years War League.
Yes, so the 7-Year War League is a league I organized together with Christoph from Switzerland, Robert from Germany, Lay from wherever Lay is at any moment in time, with France, which likes to travel the world, and Spiros from Greece. And we have games in different languages to celebrate the diversity in the piracy communities. So on a regular basis, we have games in Dutch, English, German, French, Greek, Norwegian, and Swedish. And we are trying for occasional games in Russian too, which really allows people with local school play in their native language. And we, of course, have games which are comfortable for the majority of people who speak that language too. And we find that compared to most other virtual leagues, they're a bit less competitive, which allows people who don't really care about scores to participate more easily, which I think is a really good that there is some variance between leagues, between, what languages are they in, how experienced is that target audience, what time zones are they in. And we also see that a lot of people who we meet through online just enjoy playing with their local players a lot. And they also find meeting their local players easier to play in their native language. And we've seen various players come to tournaments for sure because they found this through 7-Year War.
Yeah, and you're right that, and this is true for any group of diplomacy players. You're going to find some that care about the scores and some that don't. It's great to be able to cater or tailor your offerings to both types of players.
Yeah.
We do have coverage of some 7 Years Wars games that we've done on DBN on League Night, and I think it's been really fun to see different players playing differently, different metas, different levels of commitment to scoring and all that. It's fun to watch.
Yes, I agree. It's absolutely lovely to see whenever I'm hosting games to see how are people doing. And also to see like the small difference between different language communities in games can be really interesting.
Oh yeah. Well, even though some people don't care about standings or scores, who won last year the 7 Years War League, and who's winning right now, or who's in the lead?
So last year, Simon Wesendorp won the 7-Year War, and he also won in 2010-23. So he's won both seasons of the league so far. Currently, Simon Wesendorp is in second. If I look up the scores really quickly, he currently has 130 points. However, there is someone with 130.5 points. So with half a point more, in first place, Irby is Mike Block.
Okay. Well, that sounds like what we call a horse race right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's
Well, When is the next game day for the 7 Years War League, and how can people find out more information?
Yes, so the next game day is on the 25th of May, with a game starting 7 p.m. French time. I say French time because we are trying to host a game in French. You will be a host in the Francophone server by Christmas. So you can register for the game through the Francophone server or to reach out to online, as I am sure you can put a link through the Francophone server in the videos.
Do you know yet when your June date is, just in case if someone's watching this and it's already after May the 25th?
If you're in June, there will be games in Dutch, Norwegian, Swedish, and English. If you speak Dutch, Norwegian, or Swedish, and you are interested in joining, please reach out to me so I can take into account by just
Okay, that's awesome. All right, now switching gears, you have just announced your second annual Youth Diplomacy Championship, the YDC. Tell us the particulars of that competition, if you would.
Yes, thank you. The YDC aims to celebrate the young players and organizers from the community. This year, I will be organizing it together with Philip Cook, who also participated last year. And our aim is to give young players a chance to play with their age peers. And to also show the world that there are some very talented young players out there, and that young people are also quite capable of doing a well-run event. And players can choose to participate in a third faces age games, of the game played online over voice chat with have 15 minutes no face to face, which lasts about 4 hours, or extended desk line, which means that you communicate over email and get a day to communicate with players before you submit your order, to cater to the different time availabilities it's in played. And we set brigade boards by age group. The winner of each board will be the Youth Diplomacy champion in that age group. And if we have 7 or more Youth Diplomacy champions, which is currently looking likely, then I may host, Philip and I may host again to determine a champion of champions for the Youth Diplomacy Championship.
A YDC top board, so to speak.
It's not a top board because I do want to stress that everyone who wins a Youth Diplomacy Championship game is a Youth Diplomacy champion. But you could compare it to a top board, but where the winner is compared the champion of champions. Yes.
Yeah, the champion of champions is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But why did you think it was important to highlight this opportunity for young players to play and succeed and have fun with each other?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a chance to play fun diplomacy. I think for me, it started when I joined my first European Championship, age 30. I saw that like the next oldest person there was, I'm guessing, around 23, 24, so the whole decade older, which made the socialization get hard for me at time. And as you looking back, if I would have had the opportunity to play with older people between 12 and 50s again, that would have been a much more welcoming experience, as I can imagine that for many people who are, say, 10, 11, 12 years old, the idea of joining a game with people much more similar to their age, rather than people from across the age spectrum, can be very well. I should note that the Diplomacy Championship is open to anyone under 20 years, so 19 or younger.
So once you reach age 20, you're over the hill. No longer, you're no longer appropriate for this event. That's
So when I face that dreadful moment next year, I will hand over organization to Silla, and he will take over you. Yes.
Fair enough. All right. Zimon won last year. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes. Simon, Paul, and I were last year's Youth Diplomacy champions.
Okay.
But Simon Zini is 20, and I am the organizer, so I'm not supposed to play. So only Paul is able to defend his point.
I see. Okay. Well, do you know who is participating this year so far?
Well, we have a list of about 60 people, so I won't list them all. But to give you some tips on some well-known players in the community, I of course mentioned Paul Beale already, who won last year and will be participating in the Extenders That Line part of the championship. The other prominent name in the Extenders community is Indian player Sohan Shinde, who organizes the Nexus team championships. And he also won the Gunboat championship at Nexus a month or so ago. So he's up and coming too. And for the virtual face-to-face community, some well-known names are Georgina Dovas, who you probably will have at WDC.
Right.
Is a lovely Greek player. She just managed out in the finals of WDC because there was a book round. Otherwise, she would have made it. And I'm very excited to have you, Pam. And another prominent face player is DK player Bangri, who has won the Diplostrats Blitzbalance tournament last year. So also a very talented young player who is favorite to win his ball.
Well, that all does sound very exciting. Jelte, I wanted to thank you for all that you have been doing to promote diplomacy play in your part of the world and elsewhere. And you are also involved in running this year's European Diplomacy Championship, the EDC, in November. So preview that event for us a little bit, if you would.
Well, thank you in the first place. Yes, I am hosting the European Diplomacy Championship together with Michael Blom this year in Leiden on the 7th, 8th, and 9th of November. For those of you who don't know Leiden, it is very close to the airport of Amsterdam, Schiphol. It's about a 15-minute train away. It's very close to The Hague too. It will be 3 days, and over these 3 days there will be 4 rounds of diplomacy, and any player can play as many games as they like. So playing 1 round is fine, playing 2 rounds is fine, or playing all 4 rounds is fine too. The final round will have a top board, meaning that the top 7 players from across the world at EDC can compete. Of course, players from outside Europe are allowed and encouraged to join too. And we are currently setting up these site activities, but I suspect we at the very least will be able to provide a guided tour and 1 or 2 shared dinner opportunities. And I'm really looking forward to having wonderful players from across the world at the event.
Yes, it sounds obviously exciting once again. Lots of events going on in Europe and elsewhere. Any other thoughts for our deadline audience?
Well, I wish to see you all at an event for What's the Wonderful Game of Diplomacy.
That is a good way to end this. Thank you so much, Jelte, for being on the show, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, and do so yourself too.
Speaking of the Netherlands Diplomacy Championship, I know we have time for a quick interview segment we call the Winner's Circle, don't we? in which we talk to a recent tournament victor about that experience. Now let's cut to my discussion with NDC winner Wes Ketchum about what he did and how he did it. Wes Ketchum, it's great to have you back on Deadline once again. It's been a while.
Yeah, thanks for having me, David. It's a pleasure to be back.
Absolutely. All right. Tell us a little bit about your own diplomacy journey, if you would, and then maybe describe where you are and what you do when you're not winning diplomacy tournaments.
Well, that's not very often. So I started playing diplomacy when I was I heard about the game and started playing Extended Deadline online in graduate school. So I was trying to find time to procrastinate doing work I really should have been doing otherwise. But then I kind of let it drop away for a bit, and then got reinterested in it and took the plunge living in Chicago to go to a face-to-face bar game with the Windy City Weasels, which happened to be in March of 2020. So the very last game that we did before everything was shut down in the pandemic. But continued kind of playing with the Weasels in the virtual face-to-face realm, and sort of continued with a lot of the virtual face-to-face play, and then have continued on with face-to-face games as I can. And so now I actually live in Geneva, Switzerland, where when I'm not playing diplomacy, I'm a particle physicist working at CERN, working on a project there, building a prototype detector. And so I've had a lot of fun playing around in the European hobby.
Well, I know, and we're going to talk about one particular event in just a minute. But before we get there, is there a particular part of diplomacy that you see as your strength, and conversely, any aspect of the game you feel you need to work on?
Any aspect, most aspects I think I need to work on. Yeah, I think, it's maybe easier to start with the things I'm trying to work on now. I think that I often fail to really get, a full read of the board. I can see, my theater, either East or West, and the people that I'm working with very well, but it's often hard for me to kind of keep up and keep pace with getting a read across the board and making the connections across the stalemate line, which I think are, critical to make, and as you move towards the middle game and the end game. But in terms of strengths, I like to think that I can stay cool and calm and collected, even when under pressure, and that I can always sort of try to rally things around towards what I think is the right move, and try to make the arguments with everybody the best I can. So it's what I hope I come across that in my game, at least.
Well, I think you do. And I think the thing you talked about needing to work on, we all can work on reading the board quicker, more completely, more accurately. That is a tough skill to learn. All right. So for you, how does playing face-to-face compare with extended deadline or virtual face-to-face play? I know you've done all of those things. How do they compare?
Yeah, I enjoy all of them. Extended deadline, I find I get too obsessed and takes too much of my time, so it's not a good fit for me in the personal life. With the face-to-face versus virtual face-to-face, I really enjoy both, and they have a lot of similarities. Of course, getting the chance of a bit of a human connection, really getting to talk to people and do things. The face-to-face obviously has a little bit more of a human connection, which I really enjoy. I also like the physical aspect of face-to-face, even just walking around and kind of pulling people aside, talking to people and such. One of the things in virtual face-to-face I really like, though, is it's very nice, even though I stare too much at a computer in my day job, so it's nice to get away from that. But in virtual face-to-face, it's really nice to always have that map in front of you, to be able to kind of see the board there. It helps me, I think, make better tactical decisions and not have to always be trying to look back at the board or remember otherwise. But both have their strengths and weaknesses. But I really enjoy the face-to-face, just for that extra physical and social aspect.
It is really, in some ways, a physical game, not just the physicality you were talking about with the moving around and talking to players and all that, but just literally the stamina involved in playing a weekend of face-to-face diplomacy. I mean, it's a physical game in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so you've had the chance to play at several European tournaments since you moved over there. Are there, well, let's talk specifically first about your NDC win. Let's do that. The Netherlands Diplomacy Championship. What was the key to your tournament victory, do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, I'm not sure what the key was per se, but I mean, one of the things that I really liked was I was able to establish really good game-long alliances and have really good partners in that in each of my games. And so I felt that gave me a certain comfort and confidence in the game going forward. That there were some things, of course, that you always have to worry about, but the strength of my alliances, and the people that I worked with, gave me something that I didn't have to worry as much about. And of course, when you can kind of play within your comfort zone a bit more, I think that you end up playing better, which is what happened in my games.
So game-long alliances, even in a 1907 type scoring arrangement?
I know you will be shocked to hear it, but this is maybe the least European of the European tournaments that in terms of results in the games that they went with. But I managed to find and work with partners sort of game long, and in fact, I mean, this was part of my thinking and strategy going in. I wanted to, more than anything else, I wanted to have some fun. I'd been thinking about some opening moves that. Different openings that could help a game-long alliance, even within a 1907 game, do well. So I think I engineered, as playing Turkey, we worked with Yoni and engineered a swap of Ankara and Romania, which was really fun to then have an RT that was able to do that. Then I got to work with Yoni again in another game where we were England and France, and we arranged a swap of Brest and Liverpool. And so these were, I mean, they were fun and interesting things to do, but they were also, I mean, I think that they were strategically designed such that we could establish an alliance together that would make it difficult for us to stab each other, very well. Maybe for one dot at the very end, but otherwise would, encourage us to kind of keep working together through the whole of the game, and it worked out that way. So.
Yeah, that seemed particularly true in your England-France game. That swap, I mean, was talked about on the stream during the coverage, and I think it's pretty obvious what you were trying to do there, which is prevent the ability to stab by the wrong build. Was that something you had thought about well before the tournament?
Yeah, I think I can't remember exactly where it hit in my head, but I think it was something I heard from Brandon Fogel on one of the streams at some point, or somebody thinking about doing this, and so I was like, okay, well, how would that actually happen? How would you tactically work that out? What are the moves that you would try to do to get that done? And so that was I basically walked into that game with Yoni, and we had worked well in the game before, and I said, how would you like to run the absolute best EF ever? And she said, all right, I'm game, let's do it. And so we arranged the convoy of Wales to Belgium in 1901, and then put our fleets in position to do the swap from there. And yeah, the rest was history.
It certainly was. Describe some other recollections from the 3 games that you played at the NDC.
Yeah, I think those were, doing those swaps and having, working with Yoni in both of those games was really nice. I mean, the other recollection that in my first game, I was Austria and had Liam in Italy, and we had a really good relationship in game long alliance, and in the end, I mean, he had the opportunity to sort of take a couple dots off me, and had been positioning himself to be able to do so. But I think, over the power of the alliance and where things stood on the board, he ended up actually kind of sort of gifting me a center that he really didn't need to, which ended up putting me in a position to tie for the board top, and actually, I think really gave my tournament sort of the push that it needed to.
Yeah, that was a great opening start to come back and get that shared board top, I thought.
Yeah.
Now you've already mentioned a little bit of this, but were there players you particularly enjoyed facing on the boards, whether friend or foe?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned some of the friends already. I think some of the foes or some of the a little bit of the rivalries. I mean, I've played a fair bit across the European tournaments with Micah Blom and Simon Westendrup, and so it's always fun to play with them. I've tried to work with them and ally with them before, and I feel like I always have gotten the short end of the stick. They probably say the same thing about me, and so it was fun, especially in the first game again where. Each of them was in that game. It was really a push and a race for the three of us, and ended up on the top three. Just to call out, I mean, there were so many new players and new players that I got to meet. Another was Thies Venstra, who I learned later was a two-time NDC champion. And I executed a brutal stab on in my first game. Where I was Austrian, he was Russia, but he took it very well, and in a very, I think, what I feel is a very sort of European way to, in my experience, of, well, I should not have let you let you get in position to do that, and we ended up still having a good rest of the game together.
Well, let's talk about that very European thing that you just mentioned, because European play and play in North America has over the years been compared with each other because they can be somewhat different. Do you see any differences, having now played in several European events versus the North American play you had been experiencing before?
Yeah, and I mean, and I should put it, there's a big caveat in that I've never actually played a face-to-face tournament in North America, and my play has been limited. Face-to-face play in North America has been limited to the Windy City Weasels, which is probably its own thing.
Yes, but you played a fair amount of virtual face-to-face,
yes.
particularly during the pandemic, with largely, not exclusively, but largely North American players.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the things I felt like with European players, and particularly in the European face-to-face tournaments I've been in, that's always struck me, is there's sort of a demand. I think that you have to be decisive, you have to play smart, and people play a bit ruthlessly with respect to that. And so I think if you leave an opening for somebody to be able to take a center off you, they will often do it. And it's not, I don't think it's in a sort of a dot grabbing sort of way, or I think it's truly, it's just part of it, it's part of sort of the feels like the culture and meta of play of, well, you should not have let you do that. I still want to work with you. This is not necessarily a stab, but you left, if you leave something open to somebody, it feels like more often than not that they will take it.
Do you think that could be a function of the predominantly 1907 end date for tournament games, where it's a little more dot grabby in the sense that there's a race at the end of a game that is ending in 1907?
I think that's certainly likely a part of it. I mean, the 1907 date being a fair bit earlier than how many other games go in other places, you have to have a bit of a faster push and a bit more, take the opportunities as you can, because there's not as many years, there's not as many turns to do that. You can't necessarily be as patient and allow things to develop. I think that can also be a little bit. I wonder sometimes if that's a little bit overplayed. That's not just purely a factor of a 1907 game, not purely a factor of a scoring system. I think it's also a style of play and the way, the way a lot of the players there sort of think about the game.
Yeah, the meta can be as a result of all sorts of things, not just scoring systems, right?
Right, exactly.
Well, for those of us that didn't get to go to the Netherlands Diplomacy Championship this year, give us a little bit of an overall reaction of what it was like to play in the NDC.
Yeah, it was really a wonderful tournament. And I have to give a huge hands off to Jelte for organizing such a successful and great tournament. We had 3 boards in each of the rounds. It's in a first time I've been to Groningen, which is beautiful. It's always lovely to be in the Netherlands and count how many more bikes you see versus cars. And the venue was great, with great food and great space to play in. And there were a lot of new players and players that were, at their first tournament, even at sort of their first games, there was a board in the first round that was devoted to rookies of tournaments to allow them a chance to sort of get their feet wet, get used to the timing of things before they were thrown in the deep end with everybody else. And I was really impressed by the level of play, even from a lot of the newer players, where there was oftentimes, I feel, with some newer players, they come in and they've done a lot of research and they've been like, okay, well, this is the exact thing that you're supposed to do, and this is the exact way that alliances are supposed to be, and they're very sort of set in a particular way of thinking. Whereas I felt like a lot of the players here were very open and very wanting to try new things. We're very into negotiation and working with people across the board overall, and it was really a great and fun experience.
Certainly sounds like it, and it sounds hopeful for the future of the hobby in the Netherlands to have new players that are open to learning new things and coming in with particular skills and experiences already and flexibility. That's actually great for the future of that hobby.
Yeah, I expect to see that to continue to grow, and with the European DipCon being in the Netherlands later this year, I expect another big showing from the local Dutch hobby that'll be
awesome.
that expect them to do very well.
Was this your first face-to-face tournament victory?
It was, yes. So that was very exciting.
Well, good. We're excited for you. Now, for all those out there who are still waiting for their first face-to-face tournament victory, give them a pointer or two. What should they be trying to do to improve their play and make themselves competitive to win the tournament? What do you think people should have in terms of a mindset?
Yeah, I don't know. I may be the wrong person to ask, but
you are precisely the correct one to ask, because you are the most recent tournament winner in the world. So
I don't know. I went in. I went into this tournament. I'm a competitive person, and I really and I wanted to to play my best. But I think part of the reason I like sort of the competitiveness in diplomacy is what it means, for the quality of the game when that happens, and whether or not in the end that I win, it's a game. So it doesn't. I've toned down my expectations with respect to that, and really have just been pushing to have fun. So, and instead, sort of focusing on, like I said, I kind of went in not thinking about winning, but just thinking about some fun new things I wanted to try, and to go with that. So maybe, I don't know if it's great advice or not, but maybe the advice is just find what you want to play for and go for that, and don't worry so much necessarily about the result, but go in to have fun and then do your best, and see what happens.
Who knew you could have good fun and good results at the same time? Who knew?
Who knew?
Any other final thoughts for our audience?
No, I mean, I just, like I said, I just want to thank Jelte and all the people that were involved in the organization, and all of the people that were at the tournament, and in making the tournament such a lot of fun and such a great success. And I'm super excited to have met so many new people, and to have re-met many of the people I've played with before, and looking forward to it again.
Well, we're super excited for you, for the event that you had, the tournament success, and also just the fun that you had. And we're excited to have you back on Deadline, Wes. We'll get you back on here soon.
Right, great. Thanks, David.
All right, have a good day.
You too.
Let's move on to a segment of the show we call How Things Work, where we talk about hobby services, projects, or organizations with those persons trying to make the diplomacy community a better place for all. This month, we talked to Sarlainen and Gianmarco de Lella about their work on the World Diplomacy Reference. Hello, guys, and welcome to Deadline.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. All right. I know that you both have been involved in the diplomacy hobby for quite some time. Lay, let's start with you. Can you tell our viewers more about where you live and what you do when you're not playing diplomacy?
I live mainly in Africa. I am currently I live mainly in Africa. Some people can remember some time ago I was in Southeast Asia, I am mainly a traveler, and I like from a pension, and I'm in retirement, enjoying travel.
Okay, got you. How about you, Gianmarco?
I'm currently based in Bologna, where I work as a data analyst for an Italian IT company. I've not a history with playing diplomacy such as Lei, but I started like 9 years ago, I think. I'm still trying to making my way to tournament. If maybe now that I have the opportunity, I will try to travel more.
Well, that would be great. I'm sure everybody would love to see you at a diplomacy event. So let me stay with you. What drew you to working on the World Diplomacy Database? I'm sorry, the World Diplomacy Reference.
Yes, initially I started working on a database to calculate ELO ratings for diplomacy players, like the chess ELO scores. After I finished a rough draft, I contacted Lei to offer my help to modernize the interface of the old website as a way to give back to the community. Then we talked, the WDR was born.
Well, for those who have not used it yet, describe what the World Diplomacy Reference is and what it does.
So the reference is a website that contains data on all the diplomacy events that we found. The data includes full results, the players, player statistics. For the newer events, we also have full boards if the participants unbox them and send to us. We try to archive much as possible of the competitive and not so competitive scene.
Lei, you were involved in the World Diplomacy Database, the thing that was before the reference. Could you give us a little bit of an idea of why things were changed or what needed to be changed, and how the reference differs from the World Diplomacy Database, the WDD?
World Diplomacy Database exists from 20 years ago, and in the beginning, Laurent Joly, Gwen Maggie, and me was working on it. Laurent was the one who make all the technical things. Gwen and me are working about find all the results, make a big archaeology on results from 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, I remember. Go ahead.
And thereafter, we build this together, but time is passing, and at the time, Laurent lose any interest in diplomacy. But he believe the World Diplomacy Database is in baby. So he refused to give the K for modify something or for do something. So at that time, the World Diplomacy Database was agonizing because we cannot change anything. And Gianmarco come and with this a new project, a successor project.
Well, and quite a project it is. Gianmarco, let me go back to you. Just from a technical or logistical point of view, what did you need to do to update the database into what we now see as the World Diplomacy Reference?
We started with the database. So all the data that was taken from the WDD, the old website. Then we needed to create our interface to show which is the most visible difference from the website. Then the modules for input to the data. Lei sent me the documents on how to input the data on the old website. previously you had to send an Excel file formatted in a certain way. Now you have a web interface which is more intuitive and more easy to use. Then we had to create the system to clean and validate data. We had a lot of double entries or players with a different letter in their name, and then they used that as like there were two different players. It was not an easy task.
Yeah, there would have been people in the database named Daniel and Dan or Danny, and you'd have all it's the same person, among other.
I believe
that was one of the issues.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I believe there was a provision in the old system to the players with the same name but different nation, and there was one player, I don't remember his name, which was the test subject. When someone inputted his results, for a while, maybe Lei remembers more than me on this situation. You had players with two different persons in the same in the same name until they found a way to create a difference between the two.
Yeah, the issue of having somebody with the same name goes way back. You know, in North America, we used to have a Ron Brown who's a Canadian and a Ron Brown who's a Californian. And so we would refer to one of them as the Californian Ron Brown and the other one as the Canadian Ron Brown. Lei, you were going to say something.
I was saying the case, speaking it about Pete McNamara, the Australian player everyone know, and one regular Chicago player.
Yep, and there's other examples like that as well. Were there any other challenges that you can think of that were there and trying to turn what used to be the database into the reference? Either one of you.
I believe the main challenge was to get the data. There isn't a clean way to do it in the old website, so we had to write a custom system to read, collect, and interpret all the information that was present, which is all over the website. So it was mainly a task to extrapolate and put all the information in one place.
If there are, how do you get the data in there now from new events? Do the organizers have to submit that, or is that something that gets inputted in some other way?
We have two main ways. The first is to use the Diplomacy TV of Chris Brand. Chris Brand is another admin of the website, so we have a system in place to automatically input the results if there are on his website. The other is the old-fashioned way. We contact the tournament directors and ask them to send the results, so we input them manually.
Gotcha. Okay.
A third way is when tournament director don't give the result, or for all the result, is try to find the trace of the result somewhere in the web.
Yeah, nowadays that's even easier to do because somebody's got to report on the results somewhere in the diplomacy media of worldwide, and probably easier. It would be harder now for something to get past us. Like in the old days, they might have gotten past us if a tournament director just sort of disappeared with the results. But nowadays, everybody knows the results a couple of days after the event.
Surely we are thankful for all your work to collect the new result, and we had an easier time because newer tournaments and recent tournaments, after the old website stopped updating, we found them on your website, on the Diplomacy Broadcasting Network.
Yeah, because we have to keep up with the results because of the DB&I ranking and the point system to make the invitational tournament, all that. Yeah, so that makes sense. Leg, what kind of information can one find on the reference? I mean, I've been on there, I know, but some other people watching this haven't been on there. What can you find on there?
Results, table, tournament director, scoring system, and yeah, we can find all the information about a tournament mainly, and some we put inside some friendship play, friendship board, friendship tournament, and we collect it and put it on the website as well.
And then for an individual player, you can look up an individual player's history throughout their career in different tournaments,
exactly.
Which is another interesting functionality. And I know you were involved and have been involved in ranking players. That's part, I think you told me that was part of the reason you were involved in this whole effort, was because you were interested in a way of ranking players internationally and then domestically within their hobby. Tell us a little bit more about that and how it works with the reference.
Currently, we have one system of ranking with WPE 7, World Palmarès, World Performance Evaluation 7. This system didn't exist before the World Diplomacy Reference. It was a kind of modernization from the old system on the World Diplomacy Database, who named World Performance Evaluation. That one before was collecting all the performance of the player over the time, and from 50 years of hobby. Just now, I want to put the focus on a system more dynamic. We use the 7 best performance of the 7 last years from every player. We give points on the basis of the subjective importance of the tournament, on the place people are, and on the how many players play the tournament. That is the 3 element we use for divide how many points they get.
Well, I speaking as someone who's been around a long time, it's when I go to the reference, I look up my name and remember what I was doing in 1992 and stuff that I barely remember. For me, it's a wonderful memory device to remember where I was and what I was doing in the hobby from decades ago. So I wanted to thank you just for that. It's just nostalgic for me just to look at what the tournaments I've been at. Forget about the rankings. Are there any changes or updates that you all have in mind for the reference in the future? Anything about its functionality or anything like that, or is it pretty much now the way you would want it to be?
We have some features to still support from the old World database, World Diplomacy database, such as the players meet, or a country travel. Right now, we are focused on cleaning data, and we are endlessly cleaning all the data. And we will do a software design in the coming months to simplify and streamline the interface. After that, we'll launch the ELO ratings. It's funny that both me and Lei started this project to rank players, and the ELO ratings were briefly present on in the first days of the website, but then we shut it down to focus on the website. So they will be back in the coming months.
You know, ratings have always been part of the hobby going way back. And there's always been some people that thought they were awesome and really important, and then some people that just couldn't care less, which just goes to show you how diverse our community is.
Indeed.
Well, we are going to have a link to the World Diplomacy reference below this show in our notes. for both of you, let me ask you this question. How can interested parties contact either of you to discuss, whatever they want to regarding the World Diplomacy reference?
You can reach me through my email, which is dilellagianmarco@gmail.com. But in the future, we will have email for the website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Lay, how about you?
You can use my email. You can use my WhatsApp number I will give you, and my Discord handle as well.
So any of those ways would be a way for you to be contacted. That's great. Either of you have any other projects you'd like to spotlight while we're here in front of the camera about relating to diplomacy? Lay, I know you're up to stuff. What are you up to?
My main project, aside of the World Diplomacy Reference Database, is a World Diplomacy Wiki. Currently, I not give access to many people because he is only starting. I won't have maybe 150, 200 articles for open it and call for the collaboration of some people in the world for complete this wiki. And I think you have a good complementarity between the World Diplomacy Reference Database and the wiki, because they are not the same way to give the information.
All right, Lay, for those that are wanting to meet you face-to-face at an event, when are you going to appear next? Is it the EDC in the Netherlands, or is it sometime before then you're going to be at a face-to-face event?
I believe the next event for me would be the World Diplomacy Convention in Athens in the 2026.
Wonderful. How about you, Lay? When are people going to see you?
I am in Africa, so it's a little bit difficult for me. I am not I have not too much money, so travel is difficult. But I plan to be in Athens in 2026 as well.
Well, that's great. A lot of people are planning to be in Athens in 2026, and they'll have the added benefit of getting to meet both of you guys, we hope. Thanks so much for everything you've done on this important hobby project, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you watching at home. We hope you have enjoyed this broadcast of Deadline. If you have news, ideas for features, or feedback of any kind, please feel free to send an email to info@diplobn.com, or you can drop me a line directly using davidhood@dixiecon.com. To review all of our broadcast offerings, visit our website at www.diplobn.com. This is David Hood, signing off. I wish you brightness and bliss, and of course, Belgium.